The 81st episode of the original series or the first episode of Star Trek Year One? Find out next.
Treksploration.
Hello and welcome back to Treksploration. I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
And I'm Jessie.
And today we have a very special guest. You know her from all the YouTubes and internets. Jessie Earl, also known as Jessie Gender on YouTube, and one of my favorites, Jessie Gender After Dark. How you doing, Jessie?
Ooh, I'm doing great. How are you all?
Good, good. It's great to be on with you again. I think last we talked, we did a Quantum Leap episode, Let Them Play. That was a great one. That ended up being a 4-hour episode. I don't know if anybody made it all the way through. I did a few times.
Yeah, that was quite the chat we had. So I'm happy to have you back. I'm happy to talk Star Trek with you because I've only ever spoken to you about Quantum Leap, and I know we all love Quantum Leap and Scott Bakula. Mm-hmm. If anyone didn't see our discussion about the possible return of Jonathan Archer to the Star Trek franchise, there's another video that we posted about a day ago, Albie?
Yeah.
That talks about the Star Trek United idea, and Jessie joined us for that as well. So go back and watch that, and then come
Quite
back and watch this.
Quite literally popped into your discussion.
That's always a great surprise. It's always great to see you, Jessie. So today we're going to be talking about season 3, episode 6 of Strange New Worlds, the Sehlat Who Ate Its Tail. Before we talk about it, just want to catch up with you, Jessie. Since you were on with us on Quantum Leap, I've been following you a little bit, and didn't you do a movie and a couple cool things, right? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I forgot when we had last chatted because it came out about a year ago, little less than that, something like that. But it was a movie called Identities, which was a sci-fi film I did that because we're all nerds here. Yes. One of the people who starred in it was John Delancey, who played Q.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, who's Q? Or more relevantly, Trelane's dad.
Yeah, Trelane's dad.
A couple episodes ago. I know. I have thoughts about that as well. But yeah, he was really wonderful, like an absolute like dream to work with. To tell a quick story about him, I managed to. My producer was Dr. Erin McDonald, who many listeners may know. She's the science advisor on Star Trek. One of my closest friends, and she's producing my film. So she was the one who connected me with John. And so I just had to like cold call him. He's like, yeah, give me a call. And I'm like pacing back and forth in my room being like, oh God, I'm about to call Q. What am I going to do? So then I called him, and he was absolutely wonderful. But it was like, we ended up like talking about his son, and then like he was asking questions about my script. So he was absolutely like an absolute dream to work with, like an intense man, but in an intense way that's like, I really care about your work. Like it wasn't like belittling or like I'm better than you. It was like, let's make sure I get this exactly how you want it. And he was great. But yeah, the film is a science fiction film. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it is basic ideas. A boy and a girl wake up in a completely white room with no doors, no exits, no way of getting out, and no memory of who they are. So basically they have to try and figure out how to escape and also figure out who they are at the same time. And again, without spoiling too much, it's a story that is about like, how do you find yourself when you are stuck in someone else's system where there's someone else trying to tell you who to be and how to exist. So obviously very much queer metaphors going on there for someone like myself, but it's one that I hope is applicable for a bunch of people. But also stars Abigail Thorne, who many people may know from House of the Dragon. And also Star Wars The Acolyte, though she was very briefly in that. And then a bunch of other people like Maggie Mayfish, who's a friend of mine, who's starred in a bunch of random things. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was an absolute passion project. I'm hoping to pitch it it's clearly a setup for a show. So I'm hoping to pitch it as a TV series. I'm trying to get that out there. But yeah, that's I should say it's on Nebula as well, which is the streaming service.
Oh, very cool. So, yeah, I was watching Joe Scott a couple days ago, and he was pitching Nebula, and then your picture goes by. I was like, oh, so cool.
Yeah. Well, I should mention. I mentioned beforehand. Speaking of Joe Scott, he and I both directed. He directed the episode ahead of me. There's a show. Nebula's doing called Subliminal, which is like an anthology series, like a dark Black Mirror-esque anthology series that I did not write, but I directed an episode of that's going to be coming out sometime early next year. And then Joe Scott, he also directed an episode. I was literally prepping for my episode as he was directing, so I would come and visit his set and chat with my director of photography and everything while
cool.
he was directing. So Joe's one of the sweetest guys as well. Like I'm lucky. There's a lot of cool, amazing people that I get to work with. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I watch him all the time. So I think, definitely get Nebula. So what I think it works out to $3 a month or something, and the content on there is just amazing.
Yeah, it's fun. I will also shout out, just because I mentioned Maggie, there's a show on Nebula called Amy's Dead End Dream House that just started on there a few weeks ago. It is called The Kids Show for Adults. And it's about it's a very surreal, like, imagine Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse, but like about like real adult issues, like a friend breakup or like trying to get a job. And so the humor is very funny. If you know Maggie, she is she's got like a very weird brain in like the best, most amazing bonkers way. So the show is very much like it is completely her. So I'm evangelizing it not for my own sake, but just because I adore her and the show is really great. So that's just, I think it's, they just released the 3rd episode on Nebula and I think it has 6 episodes. This
very
season,
cool.
So.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
I just like getting the videos early and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well,
so
you'll get one. I have a Ferengi one coming out soon for you. So
I'm excited. I'm excited to watch that series. So you and Joe Scott directing, it's got to be great.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think trying to remember who was in other episodes, but for my episode, John Rubinstein was one of the lead characters, who's just a character actor who's been in a bunch of things, but he was in an episode of Star Trek Voyager.
Oh, so, nice. Which one?
Yeah, so he's I actually don't remember.
Okay.
Let me just see. John, he was also Rubinstein. I'm trying to remember. I know he had like a weird, I mean, like this does not narrow it down. He had like a weird thing on the side of his head, and that's it doesn't help in the slightest. Oh yeah, okay. He was let's see, Star Trek Voyager, the 37s is the one.
Oh, okay.
Also, I forgot this too. He was also one of the Vulcans in the two-parter, the Vulcan two-parter on Enterprise, or the Vulcan three-parter on Enterprise.
Okay.
In season 4, he was one of like the Vulcan High Council
jerks. Yeah, I like the 37s. That's one of my favorite early ones.
Mm-hmm.
So he played the alien, one of the 2 aliens at the end, probably.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
He did.
I can picture him. Very cool. Nice. Okay, can't wait to watch that. All right, today we're talking about Stranger Worlds Season 3, Episode 6, The Sehlat Who Ate Its Tail. And it aired today, August 14th, 2025. Written by David Reed and Bill Walkoff, and directed by Valerie Weiss. Exciting. Chris, can you just refresh the memories of people who just watched this episode with one of your amazing episode recaps?
All righty. Stardate? Who cares? Commander James Kirk is first officer of the Farragut, and he is bored. Their current mission, chart an uninhabited planet. Kirk suggests to his Vulcan captain Varel, I guess where post-Gas Cloud eats Garavik on the timeline. Anyway, Kirk suggests to Varel that they get boots on the ground and explore the planet firsthand. Varel says, not so fast, bub. Let's just play it safe. And before Kirk can spout his risk is our business spiel, an energy beam hits the planet, causing mass destruction and taking the Farragut with it. The ship is mashed, the captain has a traumatic brain injury, and all of a sudden Kirk is in command. The Enterprise warps in, and Spock, Uhura, Chapel, La'an, and Scotty beam aboard the Farragut to help with rescue and repairs. Kirk gives Pike the sitrep. The massive energy beam, the ruined planet, and, oh yeah, it probably came from that giant ship over there. La'an gets what info she can on said ship and beams back to the Enterprise. Pike orders Kirk to abandon the Farragut, but too late. The mystery aliens attack the Enterprise, which promptly flies into the maw of the giant enemy ship. The ship warps out, leaving the crippled Farragut alone among the debris. Now, acting Captain Kirk has to figure out what to do with most of his future besties. And Nurse Chapel, too. The Farragut is a hulk, and the scavenger ship is apparently headed for an inhabited planet to pillage its resources and kill the gazillions of people who live there. The TOS cast tries to offer Kirk suggestions, but that's Pike's MO. Kirk is all like, I know the details, now just shut up so I can think. He scoots off the bridge saying, don't look at me, and Spock follows. Back on the Enterprise, Pike and crew are stranded in the belly of the beast, trapped in a web of space power cords or something that are draining energy from the ship. They deduce that the aliens will take whatever energy and materials they want, killing the crew in the process. Cue 4 or 5 crew members recalling legends about a deadly ship, a Sosnik, destroyer of worlds, the Astrovor, a mythical scavenger ship that lays waste to outlying colonies, spooky, and the Enterprise is its latest victim. Back on the Farragut, Spock attempts to counsel a freaked out Kirk. Jim compares himself to the dog who caught the car. Now he has the command he always wanted and doesn't quite know what to do with it. Spock compares it to the Vulcan story of the Sehlat who ate its own tail, but no matter how you describe it, here we are. Kirk is in command and needs to tell them all what to do. So Kirk does what he does best and goes full Kirk. Scotty, push the damage engines to maximum warp and overtake the scavenger ship so we can save the planet and mount a rescue. Scotty is not pleased with this plan, and sure enough, the ship breaks down. They are dead in the water with the enemy ship about an hour behind them. The Enterprise is not faring much better. All systems are offline. The ship has no power to steer or navigate, and scavengers in impenetrable hulking armor are killing everyone they encounter. All seems hopeless until Pelia comes up with a ridiculous plan to save the Enterprise using three old telephones and an indeterminate amount of copper wire. That all this just happens to be in implausibly massive quarters. The idea is simple. Hardwire communications between the bridge and manual thruster stations so they can fly out without helm control. I guess that's the plan. Kirk is also cooking up his own plan. Flood the Farragut's busted into cells with what appears to be an irresistible energy source. They named something, I just forget what it was. Compelling the scavenger ship to stop and check them out. The scavengers fall for the bait, and somehow Uhura maneuvers the Farragut in a way that makes the scavenger ship zap itself and become disabled. That's what happened, right? Something like that. The Enterprise flies out of the ship's gaping maw just as the Farragut sends some torpedoes into the belly of the beast, and it blows up real good. Aftermath, they discover that the scavenger ship was full of humans, descendants of a group of scientists who fled Earth just before World War III, trying to escape climate change or something equally as bad, and Kirk's actions killed them all. Kirk laments, but Pike tells him that he didn't have a choice. But Kirk should use his experience as an opportunity to learn empathy, even for a seeming enemy. Kirk takes the lesson to heart until Star Trek 6. The end. Or maybe the beginning of Star Trek Year 1. I don't know.
Yeah,
so I know that was a kind of long, but I swear, I watch these and there's just so much. I used to be better at condensing them back down. But I find the more the season goes on, there's a lot more interaction, character dynamics that you just really need to establish so that you can have the proper kind of discussion.
Yeah, there's a lot of plot that happens.
Yeah,
stuff like
in a good way though, I think.
Yeah.
Let's start with first impressions, Jesse. We'll let you go first. What do you think of this episode? Your first impressions.
I liked it. I actually think, personally, I think it's probably the strongest episode of the season for me so far. I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't really loved this season, so the bar's not high. Last episode was also one that I enjoyed, but like, there's not been a standout great one. And neither, for me, is this one a standout great one. However, I think it does actually do a few good, interesting things with Kirk. For me, that I'm like, this is clearly Akiva Goldsman wanting to do his Star Trek Year 1 show, which I have hesitations on as a series idea. But if you are going to do prequel stuff with a Captain Kirk and getting the TOS crew together, this is kind of what I would want, where it's like, it's not them just doing the same thing again. It is Kirk in a different place, learning like how to become the captain. So I really liked that whole aspect of it. Everything else that was going on the Enterprise and all of that stuff just was a lot of like shooty action stuff. There's some fun beats that I really enjoyed, like the Pelia stuff. But yeah, I think, at the end of the day, with this, it was a fun episode that I enjoyed. It did some interesting things with Kirk, but I wasn't blown away like that planet was on this one. But I will say, though, the most interesting thing for me out of the whole episode was the end bit with like, oh, the people turned out to be scientists who fled Earth. I'm like, I wish that had been earlier on in the episode and we had dealt with that more. Like that was that really, really interesting, thought-provoking idea of the episode that I'm sad that got pushed off and just sort of like got tossed out at the end. And then we'll get into criticism because I have a lot of like criticisms of how certain things played out. But on the whole, this was a solid, fun episode that I enjoyed, and is a decent case for a show that I do not want. So,
I like this episode a lot. It felt very TOS to me. It felt very, very like it could fit right in there with like even if you take out the B plot and just like edit it so you're stuck on the Farragut. It'd be like a TOS episode almost exactly, I think. I think the only reason they had the B story was to have that reveal at the end, maybe. But it's fun seeing Pelia with all the stuff that I have all over my house, too. And I think she's a Time Lord. I think I came up with that in this episode. I'm not sure. But, I squeed a lot like a little school kid many times. And I got chills. Kirk looking at the chair and the TOS crew together. And there was just so many things that just gave me endorphins about this episode. So that's my first impression. What about you, Chris?
I liked it.
That's something from you.
Big question. No, I feel like I should have liked this more than I did. And there was a lot to like here. I'm just very confused as to whether or not I want to see a reboot, rehash Star Trek Year One series. I like the idea in general, but then I don't know how or if this crew will gel together with these actors playing the roles. And I'm not saying that they won't, and I'm not saying that they did poorly here. I'm just saying that there is enough hesitation still, even after seeing this, where I question, how do we go forward with the franchise? Is this the way to go? It's an obvious way to go, and it might be a great way to go. This episode goes a long way to having that proof of concept. But is it the right way to go?
So less squee and chills from you. See, I'd greenlight it right now, but that's me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, before we get too much further into it, I mean, I can give you like my initial reaction, because I'll tell you this, I did not expect this episode to be an episode of Star Trek. I expected this to be an episode of Strange New Worlds. So, but before we get into all of that, we want to hear what all of our brave and devoted loyal Trek explorers think about this episode. You can do so right here on the YouTube channel. Just come to youtube.com/@Treksploration and comment below, like, share, do the whole thing, get the word out there. You can also find us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Treksploration. There you'll see the different levels of support that we have there, the different levels of membership that you can come on board. You can become part of our crew that way. You can also find us on Instagram @Treksploration Pod. You can Blue Sky. It's Treksploration.bluesky.social. You can tiktok.com @Treksploration. I still have not looked at tiktok.com.
You gotta watch him dancing. Fat guy in Starfleet uniform dancing. Come on, it's funny.
Who doesn't want that?
Email us. That's TreksplorationPod@gmail.com. You can send me I don't know, send me Gorn. I already said to send me Gorn Hatchling. Send me something else. P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York 11705. Sea monkeys. That'll
Moopsies. Yeah,
I like it. So it's P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York 11705. I promise to share everything you send with Albie. PayPal. You can QR code us. What is it? It's the link. Put the code up, Albie.
Yeah, it's on there.
You can do a one-time donation using that QR code. You can also do a one-time donation to support the show at buymeacoffee.com/Treksploration. Much like our lifetime member, the Omnipotent Willard. Hello, Willard. We want to thank Willard and all of our other patrons. That includes our crew of intrepid explorers. That is Cadet Listen Linda, Cadet Rectatro, our Lieutenant Commander Scott Seligman and Cosplay Dad, and also our Captain Charles from Texas, Captain on the Bridge. Thank you, one and all, for the support that you give us. Thank you for the free patrons as well that are following us over on the Patreon site, and everyone that's following us here on YouTube. We love the fact that you're watching. We love the fact that our audience seems to be growing every day. Subscribe, like, and share. Thank you so much, and send us your photos. Albie puts the photos in the credits. So you can be famous. You can be Treksploration famous.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you want to be Treksploration famous?
Who wouldn't want their picture in the credits, right?
So this is usually where we do feedback, but we're getting so much of it. I think that we're starting to just do different feedback
saucer separation sections where we're just going to do our feedback separate because it just goes on in a great way, and we love it, and we love the fan interaction. So, and we are famous for our tangents.
So we're trying to make that a whole different thing, a whole segment of its own, because it deserves it at this point. So thank you, one and all, again, for your support and for your feedback. But right now we're here to talk about Strange New Worlds, Season 3, Episode 6, The Sehlat Who Ate Its Tail, or its own tail. I couldn't figure out what the freaking title of this was. I typed it wrong 17 times on the rundown. I finally looked it up. I said, "Oh, that's what it was. The Sehlat that ate its tail."
Yes.
So
I copy paste everything.
Yeah.
So why don't you open up this main discussion, Chris?
Well, this is where it got interesting for me. I was so shocked that this turned into essentially an episode of Star Trek, because Strange New Worlds, I've had my ups and downs with this season, much like Jessie, but if anything, it's always striving to do its own version of Star Trek. It's trying to do its own thing. Even though we have almost nothing but legacy characters at this point, it has still managed to keep a unique flavor that hasn't been done in Star Trek before. You can say it's reminiscent of the original series, but it's not the original series. So when all of a sudden, within 10 minutes, we get essentially an episode of TOS, it's just on the Farragut with just the TOS crew, I was really shocked. Because I did not think that they were going to go there. And I don't know if Kiva Goldsman waited until this week to start talking really seriously about year one, because he knew this episode was going to drop.
That was not a pre-planned
thing. My first thought was that's on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, I'm not adverse to the idea. I'm really curious to know, and maybe have some trepidation as to how they will execute it. And I want to know what you guys think about the recasting of such an iconic ensemble. I guess it has to start with Paul Wesley. Much like last week's episode, where I saw Ethan channel Nimoy Spock so effectively for the first time on this show. Like, it was such a dead-on Nimoy version of Spock. I feel like Wesley in this episode came the closest that I've seen him to emulating Shatner's Kirk, but not in a cheesy way. Yes. What do you guys think of Wesley's performance as Kirk before this and now in the context of this episode?
I mean, interestingly for me, I have thoughts on the idea of a year one series, but in terms of just the cast gelling, I see exactly what your worry is, in the sense that, like, I don't think this cast has the chemistry of the original series cast. But that being said, I think they could get there. Or even the chemistry of the Kelvin timeline movie stuff either. But I think they could get there, and it might even work to its benefit if this was the pitch they were going for, in the sense that, like, they aren't supposed to have the chemistry yet because they are a younger version of the crew.
Right.
In terms of their acting, this is kind of my ultimate problem, I think, and it kind of will lead into my thoughts on year one, but I'll toss it out before I get into overall thoughts on it. But I don't actually like them trying to emulate, Shatner or Nimoy. Like, for me, those actors got their turn, and I think it's an exercise in futility to try to say, hey, let's try and emulate them, because you're never going to measure up. And I think what was good about, like, the Kelvin timeline movies, say what you will about them. I particularly like 2/3 of them. But they were the cast was doing its own thing, and you could tell what differentiated like Zachary Quinto Spock from Nimoy Spock, even though you could see the same essence.
One is good and one isn't. But
disagree, but we agree. But I mean, it's like I've liked Ethan Peck's Spock particularly because Ethan Peck has brought his own energy to Spock that has felt different from Nimoy. He's a Spock that has had his emotions a little bit more at the top, and that makes sense for how they've been writing the arc for Spock as a character, arcing him towards the TOS. And so like I think that it's fine that Paul Wesley has his own spin on the character instead of just trying to emulate it, because I feel like, you know, what's the point if we're just trying to redo? If we're just going to end up rehashing the past, I don't see what the point is. Like it's why I know, Christopher, you were saying like I'm hesitant. You're not against the idea, but you're hesitant after this episode of the Year One show. I am very much out on the Year One show, especially if it's going to be from the same team that we've been getting this year for Strange New Worlds. Because for me, a lot of what my frustration has been coming down to this entire season has been a lot of the season has like previous seasons of Strange New Worlds have not felt this way, but this season in particular has felt a lot like it's rehashing what TOS has been doing, but with removing a lot of the commentary that I really liked from those seasons. Like take episode 2, for example, the one where we had Trelane, right? It's doing very similar things with Trelane. Like he's a mischief maker, and it literally ends in the same way of like his parents show up to tell him like you're doing bad. Like it has the same arc, and yet the original series episode was this interesting thought on like Trelane is this warmonger. And he's saying humanity used to be this way. You used to be like this. And Kirk is like, no, we've evolved beyond that. And it ends with the reveal of him being a child saying, hey, this warmonger-like attitude is a childlike attitude. Dangerous, but childlike. And it has this commentary and saying, like, for us, humanity mature, we need to stop trying to view each other antagonistically and fighting and doing war. And it was did in a camp, funny way as TOS does. But that was like, there was a core idea to that. Whereas what are we doing in episode 2? We're doing Spock's worrying about the girl, and Chapel doesn't really get much of a say, and Trelane's a very queer-coded, like, literally flamboyant wedding planner. It's very, like, normative stuff that I don't find like it's saying anything interesting with Star Trek to me. And so I'm like, if we're just going to redo the original series, but with less interesting thoughts, like, I don't know what the point is. And so I look at this episode and I even go and I'm like, I think there's something interesting here in terms of Wesley's Kirk being different than Shatner's Kirk. Like he's at a different place, he's doing different things. Like he's not a confident captain like we generally know Kirk to be, and that I found to actually be intriguing. And I'm like, that's the core of this that I actually find really, really interesting. But then they also like toss the most interesting idea of the episode away at the end. It's like, oh, that like they're scientists, like, and they just kind of toss that away. It's like, oh, that's interesting, but we don't delve into that in any way. And so I kind of sit here in a very interesting place watching this episode. And I'm like, I didn't hate this episode. I think there's some interesting stuff they're doing with the character dynamics, but seeing what they've been doing elsewhere, I ultimately am hesitant of like, if you're trying to pitch me on year one, that feels like you just want to redo the original series, but in a less interesting way. And I'm like, I don't feel that that's going to be what I would want. And this episode, like, it's like a weird middle point where I'm like, if you give me some of this, there would be an argument to be made of like, okay, you're doing something a little bit different, but everything else that you've told me shows me that that's not going to be the case. And if we're just going to end with like this show going into year one where Kirk, he's now the Kirk that we've already known, then like, what would be the point of that show, if that makes sense? So anyways, I ranted a bunch there.
See, I think I'm different because I really love the casting of the TOS characters that they recast in this one, because obviously you have to. It's, 60 years later. And I think they nailed it with Paul Wesley, but I've been a fan of his since Vampire Diaries. And I love Celia, is it? Plays Uhura. And,
she's fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. And I just love Ethan Peck's Spock. And I think if we get year one out of this, it'll be more like this episode than Strange New Worlds. I don't think they're going to have a musical, a puppet episode, an animated episode. I think if it was year one, it would be somewhere in between the original series and Strange New Worlds. But I got the feels in this one, like when Paul Wesley's looking down at the captain's chair, and he's thinking, "Wow, I'm gonna," because they said he's had it before, but not in a situation like this where he's actually the acting captain. And I got chills when he's looking at it. I got chills when he sat down and crossed his legs and tapped the chair. When it's like we were there for the birth of the Kirk we know from the original series a little bit, because he has been this Kirk early on where he's unsure of himself. He's not quite there. He's overconfident, but not capable, maybe, let's say, or experienced enough to be the Kirk we know. But with the rest of the crew that's assembled from the TOS show there, and they're working together as a team, it's almost like seeing where that team began. And it wasn't, to me, cheesy or just fan servicey. It was if we're going to tell this part of the story, I think they did a really great job. So I think that was my thing on this episode that hooked me and gave me the chills.
See, I wanted to get the chills, and Kirk is my favorite captain. It's always I always wore. It's either Kirk or Cisco, and it just depends on what day you get me. Yeah. But Kirk has always been the dude.
Me, it's Janeway, Picard, Kirk, Archer.
So for me, I think that Strange New Worlds, when they first introduced Kirk, I had some trepidation because I didn't really like the Kelvin verse Kirk. I thought there was a Kirk-shaped hole where Kirk should have been. And that was sort of that year one stuff, that sort of becoming Kirk nonsense. What I loved about Paul Wesley's introduction as Kirk in Strange New Worlds, I think it was maybe his first or second appearance. Kirk's just we're in dire straits here, insurmountable odds. Give me a shuttle. I got an idea. And then he comes back with all those automated drone ships. Nobody knows they're drone ships. To them, they think it's Armand. That's Kirk. He's got an ace up his sleeve, and he will get you at the last minute with some kind of idea that, as Bones said, you do what you've always done, what you were born to do, turn death into a fighting chance to live. That's Kirk, and they kind of nailed it in that first season. This is where I really got the chills, Albie. I did get chills once.
Ooh.
When they're all telling him what's going on, like they would with Pike,
right?
Because Pike's ideas. Kirk's shut up. I know what's going on. I need to think. To me, that's Kirk. Kirk doesn't solicit ideas beyond maybe occasional conference room scenes to get the sit rep. But when he knows what's going on, he is very decisive. He makes up his mind, and you don't argue with that. It seems like people question Pike's orders every third sentence. So it's a very different dynamic. So I kind of got chills when he was just knock it off. I got to figure this out. But then they kind of backpedaled from that when he ran away and was hiding, saying, "What do I do? What do I do?" I thought that he was going away to cogitate and really figure out. And they did eventually get there with the, it's kind of reckless with the ship going full bore, but when it was broken down and they flooded themselves with whatever material they made up for the tech babble of the week, that to me was a very Kirk thing. Again, taking something that looks like an impossible situation with zero odds and turning the tables. That's why I like Kirk. And of course, Shatner had the swagger and the confidence, and he could just, with one look at Nimoy, speak volumes. I don't think Wesley has that, or at least he doesn't have it yet with Ethan Peck. Could they get there? I don't know. And if they don't get there, then I'll have much less interest in a Star Trek year one, because I don't want to see Kirk stumbling and becoming Kirk. If you're going to give me Captain Kirk, give me Captain Goddamn Kirk. Anyway.
I think Ethan and Paul are IRL besties, because what was it, last year at Comic-Con, Ethan was wearing a Vampire Diary shirt with Paul's face on it and stuff like that.
That's
they get
cute.
along.
That's very cute.
And they're there.
Got to give those Kirk/Spock shippers more juice,
well, that's it. We got the love triangles, the love quadrangles going on in this. What do you think about that? I saw some looks between La'an and Spock in this episode, and La'an and Kirk also. It's still all pretty fresh and new. What do you think about that whole thing going on?
I've been hating it. Because it's feeling like Star Trek Love Boat. I have a few problems with it, right? I was willing to go along with the Chapel stuff and the why am I blanking on her name? Spock's love interest.
La'an?
No, Vulcan love interest.
T'Pring.
T'Pring. I was playing on her name at the time, and I was willing to go along with those because those were ones that were like building into the original series. So there's like an already ingrained like why are we gonna do this? But as we've gone along with Chapel stuff with Spock, she's kind of not had a lot of agency in the stories, and a lot of her stories have revolved around her romance plots with Spock and now Corby. And it's like she was such a strong character in season 1, and now they've done that kind of typical thing where it's like, oh, once a woman gets a relationship, out go the all the brain cells. Which, not to say that she's been like dumb and an airhead on the show, but like she's been revolved around those stories in a way that's been frustrating to me. And so there's like all this stuff with like Corby and her I've been frustrated with, even though again he's another character from the original series, but like you had a more open slate, you didn't need to have her in the relationship, and it's just like, oh, he read her a poem and now she's all in love with him, which is like, because women love poems.
I love poems.
And we get to hear with like La'an Spock stuff, and I'm like, I feel like it's a fundamental misunderstanding of what made Spock hot in the original series. Like, Spock was a sex symbol back in the 60s. And he, there was the Kirk / Spock stuff, which I always enjoy, but like even beyond that, like he was just seen as a hot guy to a lot of women. And part of the reason he was so hot was he was reserved. And he wasn't open about his emotions, and he didn't know how to express himself. And so you get those episodes like the Spore episode from, I forget, the season 1 or 2 of the original series, where like Spock finally can feel emotions and he's opening up, and then he goes back to being repressed. And then here we have like Spock's dancing with La'an. He's acting all suave. They're having a like fling thing. It just feels like a kind of power fantasy version of Spock that I think just like is less interesting, and I think kind of misunderstands what made Spock hot. And then all the other stuff too, like, and also there's no yearning. Like, part of the joy of watching a good romance build on TV is like there's a yearning building, but it's like we went 2 episodes and now he's with La'an for whatever reason. And I'm not saying you couldn't make that work. I actually think there's a lot that works makes sense between Spock and La'an, but it's not interesting to watch. It's just sort of like tossed together. And that goes for all of them. I think all of them, like, there's no juice behind them. There's just like, yeah, they're in a relationship now. And I'm like, I don't find that interesting. And I'm not like wholesale against seeing romance plots, but it's just like, give me, just to say it again, just give me the juice, and there's no juice.
Do you think the portrayal of Spock that Nimoy gave, sort of that basically the strong silent type, was the paradigm for masculinity at the time? You don't express your emotions. You always you roll with it and with equanimity, and you just be a man. And now we have much more open society. I think that the idea of what a man is so much more broad now than it was back then.
It's interesting you say that, because I've been working on a video about like the history of Kirk and Spock and things like that. And actually, what the arguments were a lot back then was that the reason, and this kind of goes in like Kirk / Spock attraction stuff, but like was because they kind of fit together, because he kind of Spock represented more like a feminine aspect, actually, which is interesting in the sense that like he's someone who is much more intellectual. He is kind of much more willing to be soft at certain points. And yes, he sort of like shuts down his emotions, but we see his emotions more often, weirdly enough, like when he breaks down in the naked time, like we get like he hides them. It's like a man should do, like, sort of thing. But like Kirk in a way embodies that like Western 1950s, 1960s John Wayne, cowboy guy that rides out there, wagon train to the stars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like Kirk embodies the machismo and sort of that big display of masculinity, where Spock is more like the strong silent type.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's so sanguine is what plays against Kirk so well.
That's what I was going to say. They work really well together because they kind of bounce off of each other that way. And I don't think like this version of Spock and this version of Kirk kind of do that to bring it back to the episode. You know what I mean? Like I don't think they have that like their mentalities don't like they can work, but there's not that like instantaneous like great push and pull between the two of them that, you know, Shatner and Nimoy had, I think.
Yeah, I think they're at the start of that. Maybe they're almost looking at each other from across the room and trying to figure each other out still, I think. I'm getting that feel, especially like when they're on the bridge and Spock's looking at Kirk in the chair. I was getting that. So.
All right. I mean, I think the one thing when Spock was counseling Kirk, that was kind of a stumble for Ethan's version of the character. I don't think that Spock would ever say that would be not good.
I had the same thing.
I was like, come on.
Well, we were always expecting him to say it'd be illogical, right?
But that's my thing. I think that's what part of what like this show kind of gets me frustrated, because I had the same exact reaction, right? Like it's like he's saying not good simply because we as the audience expect him to say logical. Not because it makes sense for the character, but there's like an awareness of the expectation.
I didn't even notice that he might have said logical or illogical.
Oh, I thought he was about
in that
to,
scene.
yeah.
No, I just thought that I don't think Spock would say it would be not good under any circumstance. It's just bad. It's just bad grammar.
Well,
it's just yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I think the problem I have, and this is kind of going something you said, Albie, like it's this meta awareness that this text has of the importance of what it's going for. Like the moment where he's looking at the chair, like, and all of this stuff. And the show only kind of works on like in many ways on nostalgia that some people have, instead of giving any inherent meaning in and of itself. I'm not saying this episode doesn't, but I think like the bigger example, just to kind of relate it, and it'll tie into this, is 2 weeks ago we had that the holodeck episode, and Uhura has this whole speech in it. The holodeck character has that whole speech about like the importance of Star Trek, right? And it was like this vague sort of thing of like, you know, it'll inspire people to look to the stars, da 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 da. But within the episode, the show that we see them making, that sci-fi show that they're making, that wouldn't inspire anybody. It was just a lame sci-fi show that they were making fun of. The only reason that scene has any power is because of our awareness of past Star Treks and the importance of Star Treks outside of the text. So it's relying on the meta awareness to give that scene meaning instead of actually imbuing the scene with meaning in and of itself. And so it relies on the people watching to already have this investiture into it that gives it meaning instead of building it itself. And as a result, and that's been over and over and over again this entire season with everything. Like, again, episode 2, people are like, it's Trelane. We like Trelane. Oh, you're doing the thing from... It's like building that meta awareness, but it's not adding in anything new that makes me interested in what this is doing or what this is saying. And as a result, it feels kind of weird and empty. And then you get moments like that not good moment where it's like, it's only saying that because it is aware of the audience being like, oh, he didn't say logical. That's kind of funny. And I think that like what that does, it makes me worried for the franchise. And again, it goes back to that year one argument of that, like, we're getting very insular now. And it's speaking to, you know, the three of us who are big Star Trek fans, have known Star Trek for a very long time. But for people who never watched the original series, hell, maybe just started watching with Discovery or something, or with even with the Kelvin movies or something like that, like, they're not going to have that. And so it just makes these episodes for them feel empty. And even for us watching, I feel like we're just getting echoes of things that we felt before. You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting an echo of what I liked before rather than something I love about this. So.
I have to thank you for that, because it's been bugging me why I'm not glomming onto this as much as I want to be. And I think that's the exact reason. It's almost like it's resting on its laurels and not giving us the meat that the original series did. I think that the other thing that I dislike about Strange New Worlds that I never saw in the original series is just how familiar everybody is. And I've bitched about this on pod a million times ever since we saw it. Just the lack of decorum on the Enterprise kind of drives me up a wall, especially on the bridge. I don't see that vibe translating to a year one because then I don't know how they get there. You can still be friends, but when you're on like in a crisis situation, you shouldn't be snarking at the helm. And they do too much of that in this show. If they did that with Kirk and Spock, I don't know that I could. That would make me actively hate it.
And I think that might be even generational difference, right? Like, because it speaks to the military aspect of the show, right? There is like, not that, there's always that question of like Starfleet and military, but it does have that hierarchical structure, right? But if you look at something like Discovery, putting aside all the Discovery's its own messiness, what that one did with Burnham was she was that captain. Like there was that whole conversation in season 5 of Discovery between the other captain, the guy from Battlestar Galactica, I'm blanking on his name too.
Yeah.
Rayner and Burnham. And there was this interesting conversation of Burnham's like, no, I'm a captain who solicits advice from everybody. I create more of a conversational command that's less reliant on the hierarchy. And I think that's a generational difference, even for people younger than me, for like, wanting to have that more, open style leadership versus Kirk, who Christopher, I think you're like, you nail it. Like Kirk is the guy who's like, I make the decisions. I know what's going on. And I'll solicit advice from like hearing what, like I'll get the information from the experts, but then I will make the decision, rather than sort of like Pike even being like, I'll sort of solicit advice and sort of like let them talk and I'll toss in some things as I go at certain points. I think it's a generational difference that I think will like play weirdly in a modern TV show. You know what I mean? Whichever direction they take it.
I feel it reflects the original series reflected how people interacted in the 60s, at least my idea of how they did. And this is more of how people interact today. And I think it'd be difficult to keep the audience as involved if they were trying to do 1960s dynamics between everybody, because that's not really how it would be. So I think just like they had to update the technology and the sets, they have to update how people interact with each other, because we've evolved as a society in such a short time to value each other more, I think.
But I think it does it to the show's detriment, because you look at 90s Trek, they still had that sense of decorum. Sisko would not put up with what Pike puts up with. Because he's in charge and he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and it's up to him. And it's just like, I don't need distractions. I need experts. And to me, this is all derivative. It's just so freaking derivative most of the time. And it undercuts the drama. And I like the drama. I like sort of that aspect of peril and like seriousness. And yeah, again, I go on and on and on about this all the time. And Albie, you and I do not see eye to eye on this.
No, but again, I think Pike is he knows his end is near. He knows he's going to end up in the beep chair, and he knows he doesn't sweat the small stuff. And I think he wants comfort at the end of his career, his life before the accident. And I think he wants friends and family, and that's his priority. So he operates it much different than he would have if he didn't know the end was coming.
And I also have trouble reconciling this version of Pike with the version of Pike we saw in The Cage. I guess we sort of got that at the beginning of Strange New Worlds, when he's, Montana man with his beard and is sort of the lone man in the wilderness, kind of being insular and not wanting to go back to the fleet. Yeah. And that was, I guess they took him from where we knew him from. I take Discovery out of it. And then even though Discovery put him in that place too. And, but you could watch The Cage and then watch this, and it would be seamless. Like, you don't need the disco stuff. I feel though, it doesn't mean that they can't be friends. Like, Sisko had great friendships with everybody. Yeah. On DS9, especially Dax. But there are episodes, and I love it, where Dax is just snorking throughout the whole thing. And he says, Dax, no one is laughing. Shut up. You're not making the situation better. And nobody wants to put up with it. Cut the... Like, I feel like there's never a line like that anymore.
You know what I think the part of it is for me, too? Kind of in a similar vein, right? It's like... I don't mind the difference in captain style between like a Pike and a Kirk, with Pike being like I solicit more advice and stuff like that. But Pike, because you can, again, it's why I kind of like Burnham a lot. Like Burnham, again, Discovery has its own issues that I have issues with. But I like Burnham, the character, a lot, especially in her captaining style, where she is the, like, I listen to everybody around and we kind of have a more equitable vibe between everyone. I think it's an interesting captaining style. It doesn't have, it's not Kirk, but it is different. But I think what makes Pike kind of not come off well, especially this season, but it's been around for a little bit, is he kind of just doesn't have any opinion or backbone. I think the most obvious version of that is with Mbenga and all the stuff with the killing the Klingon guy. It's like Mbenga kills the Klingon guy, and then like in Under the Cloak of War in season 2, which, you know, is an episode that I have, you know, opinions on, but I generally it's interesting. Pike just sort of says like, yeah, no, I guess I'll let it go. And then like even this season where Mbenga literally says to him, I killed the guy, and what are you gonna do about it? And like, and Mbenga's like not even challenging him on it, but he's like, this, and Mike's like, I don't know, I just wish you had told me. And I'm like, have an opinion, like be angry. Like when Worf, we're talking about Sisko, like when Worf went back for Jadzia in that one episode of Deep Space Nine and saved his wife, Sisko yelled at him. And he also said, like, I don't know if I would have done the same, but he's like, you were wrong. You were wrong to do that. You're not going to probably ever get made captain because of it. And you were wrong. And he had like an opinion and a backbone as a leader. And then maybe he had a different opinion as you know, someone who had a wife, but he had an opinion as a leader. But Pike just sort of sits there. He doesn't even have that sort of like twofold, like as a captain, I think you were wrong. As a friend, I support you. He doesn't even have that. He just goes, ah. And I'm like, and I think that kind of vibe goes through his entire captaining style, where he's just sort of like sitting there being like, I'll just sit on the bridge and let everyone talk and figure out the problem. And then I'll just say, yep, that's the one I'm going to go with. It kind of comes across that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So maybe, that also is part of the problem I had, especially when they're in the middle of the Gorn crisis, I think, and he's just like ideas, and someone says something and he's like, nope. And then number one says something. He's like, oh yeah, that's the one. It's like, didn't you go to captain school? Shouldn't that be your job? Anyway.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
The end of Hegemony 1, I'm going to blame that on the editor or the director who told the editor.
He's just standing there staring like, oh God, what do I do? Yeah.
But I think it's refreshing to have a different type of captain. And I think maybe why I'm gelling with Anson's Pike is because when I was in a leadership position and had a large team that I directed daily for years, that was my style, basically, what he's doing. You know, like the dad of the group, the leader of the group, the one that has the power and the decision making, and everyone knew it, so he didn't have to prove it or talk about it all the time. And it was more of a family, a found family, which is the best part of Star Trek for me, is the found family aspect.
Yeah, that's why I like Discovery a lot for that reason. Yeah,
and I think him being in this situation, and that's why he's doing it. So I don't know, but we got a lot to talk. Oh, what? Do you hear that? What? Hold on.
What?
Hello? Oh, okay. They're telling us we need to go to a break. So we'll do that. After this, we got a lot more to do. We got some trivia questions. We got some Trek and Tells. We have more thoughts on this episode, final thoughts. We got ratings, and we also have Jessie's Star Trek origin story. So you want to come back for that right after this break. We'll be right back. And we're back. We're back talking about Season 3, Episode 6 of Strange New Worlds, the Sehlat that ate its tail, or the dog that caught the car, something like that. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. And Chris, why don't you start us off for this segment, too?
I got to say, I know I've been kind of bitching about the character dynamics of the year one test episode, right?
I don't want it. It's not
Shatner. One thing I did love about this episode was the fact that Scotty obviously thought that Kirk was an idiot.
Yeah.
And he played it so angry. The new Scotty, his name is Martin Quinn.
Love him.
And he gave Scotty an edge that I've never seen in Scotty. Basically, like saying everything with his expression and his tone without saying, are you dumb? Are you out of your mind? You know, and he says, I'll do it because you told me to do it, but it's not going to end well. And guess what? Didn't end well. And I've never seen Scotty with a chip on his shoulder towards Kirk, which that was refreshing to me. That was sort of a new dynamic that I think that they could really play with.
And Yeah, I agree. I really like that. Again, it's like doing something new with these characters is exactly what I want from any show that's like gonna do these things. It's like I've seen TOS, I can go watch TOS. Doing that is great. I agree with like that was I remember I watched this episode on my main TV, and my fiance, she's not been watching the show this season just because she's been busy. She came in on that scene. Oh, thank you very much.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. We got engaged. I got actually premiere of my movie. I proposed.
Oh, awesome.
But she came downstairs and she saw the scene with Scotty like in the like the tube thing, and like Kirk talking to him and like talking back to him, and she's like, "Wow, Scotty's being a jerk." So I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, it was nice to see Scotty in a Jeffries tube too.
I love his Scotty. I gotta say though, most of the time I don't know what the hell he's saying. I'm like, what? I really have to like watch his lips, concentrate, and like get it from context clues. It's almost like he's giving me a RAR file, and I have to take these pieces and put them together to understand what he's saying.
You're too American.
I'll get used to it, I'm sure. You know, but I get what he's saying, kinda, and I haven't figured out how to turn closed captions on the screeners. I don't even know if they come with.
Yeah,
them,
they don't come with them.
So, you'll get the hang of the slang. You'll be able to hear through what he's saying to the core of what he means. Yeah. Eventually, is the way I look at it. Yeah, and you know, so I mean that was cool. The one thing that was just so unremittingly stupid in this episode, but Albie, you brought it up before the break. Come on. 3 analog telephones. Now, I get you need a closed system because the network... I mean, that was Battlestar Galactica. The Battlestar had no networks. Everything was wired because the Cylons could have taken over the entire ship. Yeah. So I like that idea, but they're just playing it for dumb camp. And, like, she's got, like, a princess phone, and Erica's like, basically, what do you masturbate with this? I mean, that's essentially what she said. And, Where did they get all this wire? Are they replicating wire? Was it just sitting around in Pelia's room? And that room, how big are her stupid quarters?
It's
Again, the ship is huge.
She's a Time Lord.
It's crazy stupid. I'm sorry.
I will defend the big room in the sense that they have less people on the ship. And so, but it's the same size Enterprise as the TOS Enterprise. So arguably, say they just have bigger quarters. Than
that was the argument. That was the determination that we made the last episode was that there's only 200 on this version of the Enterprise. As they get 400, they have to subdivide the rooms into smaller rooms.
Yes,
that's all.
Yeah. How does she get a jukebox on board?
That's how does she get?
Well, we saw that last season.
Anything
right?
that she gets on board.
I don't know. All that stuff must be like one of those Picard transporter lockers or something.
Yeah, so listen. I mean, I love Carol Kane. I think she's great in so much stuff. I just again, it's like if you're going to make a character serious, make her serious. If you're going to make a character goofy, make her goofy. But she has these turns that are both serious and good. And I don't know. I don't know what to think of Pelia.
I think it's important what the showrunners said and the writers. I think during Comic-Con recently, when they were asked about this, like what genre is it? It's in real life. There's tragedy, there's boredom, there's excitement, there's comedy, and everybody's life has all these different modes. So these characters don't have just one mode, and they're not doing one thing. That's why they can tell all different stories, and characters can go from being silly to being serious. And I like.
But I think they play it for LAFFS with Pelia, especially last week. This episode she was just unremittingly goofy.
It's fun to have a vampire on the bridge sometimes.
But last episode she was really serious about that whatever things they found in that cave, saying it's evil, and if we unleash them on the galaxy, and then she turns around and says, "Do you want another one for the camera?" And it's just like just undercut any freaking tension that you might have had.
It was very MCU. It was very undercutty MCU sort of stuff.
That's what aggravates me. Anyway, I think the stick is back up my butt. I gotta relax. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
I love it. I
appreciate the opinion. I don't mind the camp as much. I'm gonna run through 3 big things that I had. So in escalating order of how much I cared. One thing that did bug me, it's not the end of the world. This is the one that I would care the least about, but it was funny to me how much this plot mirrored the end of Lower Decks season 1, where you have literally the Packlet ships coming in, stealing people, literally taking nacelles off of ships and like trying to scavenge them. Obviously the Packloids are played much more funny. But there's a very similar like scavenger ship, like literally even the ship kind of design kind of looked the same, where they both have the maw sort of thing. So it's like very similar on that front. That was just funny. Star Trek episodes have resembled each other a bunch all over time, so I don't mind. But I just thought that funny. The one that did bother me though, and this is like slightly more up, was the planet destruction at the beginning of the episode. We didn't need the planet to be destroyed. It was one of those things that, I have problems with in modern Star Trek, because it's a blockbuster Hollywood thing in recent years of like, they mistake a scale for stakes. Like they make thing bigger, and so because thing is bigger, we're supposed to care more. It's like the thing at the end of Picard season 1 where it's like we have a billion different like Starfleet ships off against a billion different Romulan ships, and they're all facing off, and it's like, oh my god, look how many ships there are. I'm like, it would be way more interesting to me if it was like 5 Starfleet ships versus like 5 Romulan ships, because then you could actually have tactics of like, maybe the ship goes over here, does these things, instead of it just being a wall of ships you're throwing at me. And it's like the thing of like, everything has to be the world ending stakes. And so like literally starting out the episode like, this ship can somehow blow up a planet. I'm like, I get it's a fun visual, but it's like it just feels like an escalation of scale that's unneeded. But the thing that got me the most, this one, and again, that's like, it's whatever, that's like argument like thing, because ultimately it's not really important to the episode. The thing that bothered me the most, and this is my biggest criticism on this, is at the end of the episode we get that really interesting idea of, again, the scientists are humans. They were people who left Earth. Again, love that idea. Honestly wish that had been more centralized in the episode, and like we got a little bit more of the opinion instead of learning it after the fact. But the thing that bothers me the most is that apparently Kirk only feels bad because they were human. And that to me feels very un-Star Trek-like, in the sense that like, we should be caring about life regardless of whether it's human or not. And doing this thing of like, oh, if they're human, they look like me, so I relate to them better, feels like, because Star Trek to me has always been about, we relate to people who don't look like us, and the Federation is a future where we value all life, not just like us. And I'm not saying that we should have Kirk being like, I'm not going to do it or whatever. And I get the point the episode was trying to make about, oh, they look like us so we can understand them. But it felt like in the way it was presented, and I think they could have done it, they could have like presented it in a slightly different way, instead of it coming across as like, oh, I only care and feel bad because they're human. That felt kind of messed up to me in a way I really don't like Star Trek to be doing. And I think you still could have done the whole, oh, they were human, that's interesting sort of thing. And it also reads weird, and I'm hoping they're going to make it an actual arc, because it reads weird to me that also Pike, being this guy who's like, the Gorn are just monsters, we can murder them, is like kind of not lecturing, but like preaching to Kirk, being like, oh, well, you should have empathy for people no matter what. Like this is a lesson. I'm like, Pike, a few episodes ago, you were literally like, the Gorn are just monsters, we can kill them all. And I'm like, and I hope that's an arc. I have an arc. I hope it's an arc, but yeah.
But Pike did say to Marie, if only we could understand the Gorn better, maybe we could communicate with them. Maybe there'd be another way to do this. So he did have a hint of that. He
did, but he still says at certain points several times, like, they're just monsters, we can kill them. And I don't know. It's again, it's one of those things where you can justify it to me, but it makes the character read as wishy-washy. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Okay. Like it just doesn't read as like consistent.
Hopefully they touch on that in the future. I think them being human, I think that was for the audience and for the lesson, the moral lesson of the episode, which was basically those that we've othered are more like us than not alike. And we should, what did Pike say? We should have
empathy.
Empathy. Yeah.
And that is a Star Trek message. I get it. And I get that that's the lesson that the episode wants to take. But I feel like you could have gotten there without it being... It felt like a little bit like, oh, we have to dumb it down. Like, it didn't trust my intelligence.
Yeah.
You know? To be like, oh, I can care for them even beyond, like, them being humans. You know what I mean? Like...
Yeah. I agree. But I feel like it was for those people that maybe are lacking the intelligence in our current time, where they
I get it.
They don't appreciate others for who they are as people and respect their humanity.
Well, I saw a different message here. I thought this was maybe sort of moralizing on late stage capitalism, where you're not really producing anything. It just becomes about consumption for its own sake, so that you're just leveraging and buying and rebuying, and it just becomes like you don't even know why you're doing it anymore. The one bit of empathy that the others showed, whoever these scientists were, whatever they called themselves, was when Pike was in the corridor and they hesitate. He's like, why didn't they kill me? And maybe that's like a hint of, okay, where we're going with this, because they're human too, and they recognize you, and maybe there is a common ground here to be found, but we can't do it because the only thing we know how to do now is just cannibalize ourselves. Like so it's just like, I think that unchecked consumption is something that is just rampant now in the society that we live in, and it serves no greater purpose any longer. Nobody's quality of life is going up. We just have too much shit, and it's just like there's just no center to it anymore. It's just for its own sake. And I guess you can make an argument that it was always like that, but at least the standard of living for most people, most humans in the 20th century went way up.
I don't disagree. And actually, again, this is why I'm like, this should have been the episode. Because I'm like, that's a cool idea. And we do get a little bit of that, but there's so much more to explore with that. And just dropping it at the end, I'm like, that's interesting. And it retroactively sort of like ends this interesting thing to it. But you're not really exploring the idea, really. You know what I mean? You're just kind of like tossing it out there as like, oh, this was kind of about unchecked consumption. And like, yeah, that's interesting. I like the idea. But like, you know, we would, in the original series, for example, we would go to a planet and we would be like, oh, they consume all this stuff. And we would spend like the episode exploring that allegory. Whereas here we just kind of like leave it at the back end as like, here's an interesting idea. But we're more interested in having our Kirk learns to be captain story instead of exploring this allegory. So it's just like, you know, I don't mind it, and it's a good idea, but you could do so much more with that. And again, if it's a one-off episode, that's fine. But a lot of the season has felt that way, where it's like, we're not going to explore these interesting ideas. We'll have them maybe here and there, but we'll like drop them or just toss them out without any deeper exploration.
And I wanted to give them maybe more credit than they thought of, but I thought maybe that was what the title was alluding to as well. So anyway.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong. I think that's a read on it. I think it may even be intentional. I just wish it had more depth to it.
Yeah, I didn't see that before, but thank you, Chris, for helping me see that now. I see that. That's good. I
didn't see the othering thing, so thank you.
Yeah. So things can be more than one thing, right? I think, to echo your thoughts a little bit, Jesse, I did miss them focusing more on the other crew and the other ship. Of course, they couldn't to get that reveal at the end to me, and it felt like the whole Twilight Zone ending where you're following the astronauts the whole time, or the invaders the whole time, and they turn out to be human NASA astronauts and the old lady baking a pie or something. That was a good one. But also it almost gave me an idea of like an unintentional second backdoor pilot, because like a Battlestar-esque with those scientists, following how those scientists got to this point. But of course we have an ending already, but it could be cool, something they might develop in the future if there's more than one ship doing that, you know, or something, or just to follow how did they get there. Because I think the whole reason they got there probably was because, like you were saying, consumption, consumerism and stuff, just trying to amass so much stuff, is because when they left Earth, they didn't have replicator technology. So it wasn't a post-scarcity society. So they're still operating in a scarcity mindset and trying to survive by just amassing as much stuff and power and technology to keep going as possible. When if they just had the technology that we had. But then it makes you question, why didn't they try to get back to Earth at any point and stuff? So I don't know. But it seemed like an interesting idea.
I also think that I'm kind of glad they didn't go that way, because I'm not quite sure that TOS era is fully post-scarcity. I mean, so many Federation outposts are mining colonies. They even say when they make friends with the Horda, they're finding rare earths, they're finding this, they're finding that.
That doesn't make sense.
You know, so you don't even Esri's, her family was, miners. Mm-hmm. So you still have to get raw materials from somewhere. And I think that if you're going to have a TOS-like setting, you still do have some kind of currency. They still have credits. Even DeSalle says, I'll bet you credits to Navy beans, that whatever. So whatever, I guess that's their version of dollars to donuts. But so there is still some kind of currency in Kirk's time. And I think that they would have actually gone wrong had they went with, we're post-scarcity now. The only thing that you may be able to get is like a cup of coffee at the Replimat. And it's not even a Replimat. I always thought that there was just chef putting stuff in a slot for it.
It's right.
I thought so too, actually. Yeah. I think it's because that's actually that's the whole conversation about Star Trek, right? In terms of like, is it post scarcity? Like TOS, I definitely agree. I definitely think it's not for all the evidence we've seen. But even when you get to TNG, there's always that argument that Deep Space Nine always had about like, what does it mean you don't have money? That Nog's saying to Jake, and then also, this is something that Una McCormick, I mentioned her before. She had that really good book, which she explores a lot in the sense that all the core worlds like Earth and such are paradises, and can everyone can pursue their bliss, but that comes at the expense of the Federation, acting as a empire or colonizer, or like using soft power to trade and being like, hey, we'll get a better trade agreement here to get the things that we need from other places. And Una McCormick has the really good novel about like how sometimes, like, again, the outer rim worlds of the Federation sometimes feel neglected because they don't get as many resources as Earth does. So Earth gets to be the paradise and not. So it's an interesting conversation about, is Star Trek representing this utopian future? Or is it representing like America today in the future, and like commentary on that in an interesting way? So, yeah.
What did you think of the starship design of the others? I thought it was pretty badass. It looked like something out of a video game, like a creature. I wonder why they would design it to look like a monster like that. Like a space monster.
Yeah, at first I thought, is it a whale?
A
Jonah thing going on?
Is
Pinocchio and Geppetto in there somewhere? But I thought that was a little over the top, quite frankly. But one thing I expect from the current iteration of Trek is a certain amount of just pure over design. Disco was just rampant with it, so there's still some of that sensibility. And I guess when they say, let's make it big, like you were saying, Jesse, for the sake of cinematic whatever
bigness,
let's just make this ship as weird and bad. It reminded me of, what is it, the Narada, what was Nero's ship? Nero's ship that was all Borgified. Narada?
I think it's the Narada. Yeah.
Reminded me a little bit of that.
Yeah.
From the JJ movies, from the JJ verse.
7,000 people.
Yeah, I just couldn't get out the clump ship comparison to the Packlet ships in Lower Decks out of my brain. Like, seriously, look at the two compared next to each other. They're oddly similar, especially considering they have an oddly similar function in that they're both like ships scavenging from other ones and mashing them together.
And maybe maybe there was more of a TOS vibe than I thought, because when I first saw the ship featured, the very first, I said, I bet that's what they wanted the Doomsday Machine to look like, instead of like a windsock died in cement or whatever.
Yeah, I got that feeling too. Like they were actually using that idea for this almost, because that's kind of what it looked like, and especially destroying a planet to begin with. What were they destroying it for? Just a certain kind of ore or something? I forget.
Yeah,
who knows? It's just a planet killer. So,
I actually thought the episode was doing Planet Killer until they revealed the ship at first. I was like, oh, is this they're redoing Doomsday Machine or whatever? Yeah.
We need William Winden back. Is he still with us?
I don't know. Actually,
we need Commodore Decker.
Yeah,
that's maybe the greatest performance in all of Star Trek history.
Oh, he's so good. Yeah, that'd be good.
Don't you think I know about?
I love that episode. One of my personal favorites.
Yeah, me too. It's just a battle of the bad acting. I love it.
But in a good way.
I know. The greatest bad acting you've ever seen.
Right. Before we go on and do our final thoughts and ratings, we got some stuff to do, but I wanted to mention something. I just came back from a week-long birthday trip to Disney World. with my daughter Serenity. She's turning 13. We went a little early because her school starts.
Happy birthday, Rennie.
He says happy birthday. And we were in line. I think we went on Mission Space, where you do the simulator to Mars, probably 4 to 6 times that day. And one of the times, a guy to the left of us just randomly says, "I'm Ortegas and I fly the ship," because he was going to be the pilot. And I was like, "Oh my God!" I said so, and then I just took. I was carrying Grogu, but I took him away from my shirt, and I was wearing a Star Trek Voyager shirt. So we made Star Trek friends with people in line and stuff, and we were talking about Ortegas. Cool. Yeah, so I just had to mention that. That was my little personal anecdote. I wanted to know, because Jessie, I've watched a lot of your Star Trek content. I love your conversations you have with the audience and just your thoughts on different things. And I love your opinions on stuff. I'm a fan. But one thing I don't know is what is your Star Trek origins story? I want to know, how did you become a Trekkie? How did you become one of us?
I love telling the story because I think I have the weirdest way of getting into Star Trek of anyone. But it's oddly similar to most stories. So like a lot of people, I got into Star Trek because of my dad. My dad got me into it. But what happened was my parents were divorced. And every weekend on Fridays, my mom would drive me 30 minutes because they lived about an hour away from each other. And drive me 30 minutes. We'd meet at a bookstore and my dad would pick me up and he'd drive me the other 30 minutes to his house. So, I would usually listen to my like CD player or whatever I had, things like that, as we drove. But then one day when my dad picked me up, he said, "Oh, I want you to listen to this. I got this thing." And it was the audiobook for Star Trek Nemesis of all things.
Wow.
And I listened to it, and back then they don't do it so much anymore. The Star Wars ones do, but the Star Trek ones don't do it as much anymore. But back then they would do like full like sound effects and music and all of these things. And I was like enthralled to the point where my dad had gotten these from the library. I stole them. I still own them. Never returned them to the library. I apologize to my public library, but I would listen to them over and over and over again. And then my dad said, "Oh, well, you like that?" And he bought me the season 7 DVDs of Star Trek: The Next Generation, because it was the most recent one that had just come out at the store, which starts off with Descent Part 2, which like TNG is a show you can pretty much pick up anywhere. Yeah. Except for Descent Part 2, which, like, you need to know lore, you need to know the Borg, you need to know who Hugh is, so they're not even, like, the regular everything. Borg, and a motion chip. It's like all of this continuity is in that episode. But as a kid, you're like, ooh, I don't care. I think this is fun. So, like, I weirdly backed into like Star Trek in a backwards way, where it's like I listened to Nemesis, the last Next Generation movie, that the audiobook, then season 7 Descent Part 2, the Next Generation episode. I was like 12 or something like that. And then from there I got into Next Generation and started watching it. And then at the time my dad got me into Star Trek Enterprise was airing, and I caught literally the last episode of season 2 of The Expanse, because it was re-airing, and then they did the season 3. So I caught season 3 and 4, and I watched that as a kid growing up. And then amongst all that time, I started watching Star Trek. They had reruns of Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, all over the place. So that's basically my origin story.
I love it. To start with Nemesis audiobook. That's cool.
Yeah. It's why I earnestly say, like, my favorite Star Trek is the books and novels. Like, Deep Space Nine is my favorite live action Trek. But my favorite area of Star Trek, if I had to really say it, is like the novels. I think are legitimately where Star Trek comes to life. And I'm not just saying that because I have a tie-in author here. I legitimately love the tie-in books. I have a whole, like, see this bookshelf here? I have a whole 3 bookshelves of just Star Trek books in the other room. So.
Yeah, you can see some of them over my head here, but because they're not really on my camera that well. But I have so many tie-in novels. That's how Star Trek came to life for me as well. I mean, I liked the show when I was younger, but it wasn't until I started reading the tie-in novels for the TOS series that the entire universe just sprang to life for me. Yeah. And I have never looked back since. I understand completely what you mean.
Much more immersive.
Yeah. Diane Duane.
Diane Duane was my favorite. Diane Carey and Diane Duane. They were the two. If I saw a book by Diane Duane, I was like, yes.
Yep. I recently just re-listened, speaking of it, I just recently re-listened just to help, because I listen to audiobooks to sleep. I re-listened to Dark Mirror, the Diane Duane Next Generation Mirror Universe novel she did, which was really, really good.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a well-produced one as well.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
Love those. That's awesome. All right.
Great.
That's great. How did you, just curious, how did you get the idea to become like a Star Trek content creator?
I'm trying to think of the best way. I think what happened, I'm trying to remember. At the time, I was working for this company called Pride Media, which was a LGBTQ magazine company. They're the company that made the Advocate and Out magazine, if you ever heard of them. Yeah. You may or may not have. But yeah, I was working as part of their video producer team and as a journalist. And for them, I was like, we were coming out with content ideas, and I started being on camera, being like, let me talk about Star Trek, like nerdy stuff from a queer perspective. So I talk about like Wonder Woman, like whatever was relevant at the time. And Star Trek Discovery had recently come on. And we actually got to, because it was the first gay characters in Star Trek, so we got to interview Anthony Rapp and Wilson Cruz. And I'm again a huge Trekkie, so I was like, ooh, I can talk about this stuff. So I started doing stuff for them. But then at the same time, I was like, I want to figure out, because I was making content for like a big magazine. I'm like, what's my voice? Who am I? So I started doing YouTube content, and my commitment to myself is I was do a video every week. And I just started like doing a video every week to just figure out what my voice was. And that was around the same time, like I said, Star Trek Discovery is coming out. I think Star Trek Discovery season 2 was when I started like doing weekly reviews, and then they just started picking up because, unfortunately at that time, the only, like, there were some people here and there doing positive content, but a lot of it was that sort of like, these SJWs are ruining my Star Trek, like that whole stuff. Very like, I call them outrage merchants, like just peddling anger for anger's sake, like not actually being critical, just peddling rage. Like you can not, like, it's fine to not like Star Discovery, to be clear, but like, there's a difference between I have criticism, I don't like it, like not even, it's not even for me, and I dislike it a lot, and like peddling like the the woke sort of shit. So like that's kind of how I got into it, and then I just kept doing more. It picked up. I started writing about more stuff, writing about queer issues, like nerdy issues, and just kept going from there.
Very cool, very cool. You definitely found your audience. There's a lot of people that watch you every week, including me. So
yeah,
awesome.
I'm glad.
All right, Chris, what would you like to do next? We're going on the show sheet.
Episode crush. What's your episode crush, Albie?
Mine, my episode crush for this episode, she wasn't in it a lot, but La'an. For some reason, I'm really digging La'an and Spock, and just the feelings and tension and everything that's being unsaid. And just for some reason, La'an is doing it for me. What about you, Jesse? Episode crush.
Ooh, interesting question. I honestly, I'd give it to Martin Quinn. Like, he was angry Scotty was hot. We're here for that. I'm here for it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Jesse stole mine. Yeah. Martin Quinn was it's the first time. Martin Quinn is the first time Martin Quinn I crushed on him. I just thought he was the most interesting in this episode because he was just such a different take on Scotty and the Scotty Kirk dynamic. So yeah, I think the episode really came alive when he was talking to Paul Wesley. So
you think they're going to carry that through and then just evolve into that team that they become?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on how much Martin Quinn and Paul Wesley are we going to get together.
Speaking of that, it just reminded me. I loved that Kirk, does the normal Kirk thing where he's like saying we got to do it and push it and it'll work out. Because this whole time I've been watching Star Trek, I feel like we're watching just the one timeline where every time Kirk makes a decision, it happens to work out. Because infinite timelines, this is the one where no matter what crazy thing he comes up with, it works out. But this time it didn't, and that surprised me, that swerve.
But he made it work out in the end because that's Kirk.
Yeah, but it blew
Albie,
up.
What's your favorite part of the episode?
My favorite part of the episode, it's got to be when Kirk is turning into the Kirk we know. At least those moments, after he had his part where he was frozen, and he's on the bridge and he's surrounded by the crew, the TOS crew that we know. And they're all like looking at him with this like crush, admiration, little hearts in their eyes. And Kirk is becoming the Kirk we know. And it's just like, I felt like that was the moment that the original series crew was formed, and like Kirk maybe uses that to inform his decision when he takes over the Enterprise, whether they're there or not. That's the crew he wants. So I really enjoyed that part, and a little bit towards the end when Pike and Kirk were having that conversation. What was your favorite part of the episode, Jesse?
Oh, my favorite part of the episode. I think, kind of frankly, it was the end scene between Pike and Kirk. Like, I think that's where all the ideas that I'm like, that's really interesting, were for me. You know, my critique aside of the whole, like, only because they're human do we think about these things.
Right.
But outside of that, like, I'm like, these are really interesting ideas, and I liked the messages of them. Again, like the consumerism message and the empathy for the other message. I think those are really cool ideas. So I think that was probably my favorite scene.
Very cool. And Jesse, you still mine again?
Sorry.
Well, she's good at thinking.
I'm in your brain.
Really
I'm
good.
in your
That's
brain.
why we got her on here.
Yeah, the reason that was my favorite part is much the reason why I think that some of this stuff has again enriched the original series for me upon retrospect. A lot of stuff, say what you will about this season, I think some of the Spock stuff especially has helped me appreciate different scenes in the original series now because I have a different context for them. And when Pike was talking to Kirk about that empathy, it reminded me of like the Corbinite maneuver, where at the end they think that they're gonna, win, but then they go and they save Laylock, and that's how they meet the SARS and the First Federation, all that stuff. It's that empathy. It reminded me of, I forget which episode, where Kirk is just like, we've decided that we're not going to kill today. And we need to understand, but we're savages, but we're not going to kill today. And him saying that, I mean, he just killed 7,000 people.
Wow. Right.
And so I could not help but think of all the times when Kirk took what would have been the upper hand, especially in a militaristic, jingoistic 1960s bellicose fashion, and then turned around and subverted that expectation and said, no, we're going to take a different path here. And I feel like that may be some of the origin, this experience and that advice that Pike gave him to set him onto that path. So that's why that was my favorite part of the episode.
I had a thought while I was watching that scene. Well, I liked it. I was wondering, how does this influence, like when we're watching the Menagerie? When we're watching the Menagerie, he doesn't seem to really have a relationship with Pike that I ever picked up on watching that. It was mostly just Spock and Pike. And like Kirk was just like, this is your former captain, I guess, or something. How does that clash with it, or can you see that weaving into the whole story?
I think it helps that Pike is in the chair, so they can't really talk anyway.
Yeah.
And maybe Kirk is cordoning Pike off because he doesn't want Pike to tip Kirk to the fact that he's going to steal the Enterprise. I can retcon that all day long.
Yeah, that's you're a tie-in novelist. Tie-in novelists, our jobs are to retcon.
yeah. So
yep, that's our jobs as fans, to retcon everything. To make
but it's a good
sense.
point, Albie. I never even considered that.
Yeah, because they're very chummy now. Like I feel like this Kirk would actually do what Spock did to help Pike out.
Yeah, and I can only think of like maybe one instance in tie-in novels. I think Enterprise, the first adventure, where they talk about like Pike giving over command of the Enterprise to Kirk, and it's a very sullen, sort of very short affair, and Pike is very brusque, like they're not even acquaintances really, and Pike is clearly resenting that he has to give up his ship. So.
Is that the one also too where they ferry, the first mission is they ferry like Vulcan artists? Like is that that one?
I don't know if I remember that one. I think they also had like Shakespeare.
Yeah,
in modern English and all that. Yeah.
I love that audio.
The Klingons loved it.
I listened to that on audiobook, and it's weird because when I remember the audiobooks, I guess I was just immersed in picturing it in my head, and I have the memory of it actually happening in real life or like a TV show episode. Because it has the music, the different voices and stuff.
There might have also been a comic book that I think did it too. There was a run of Pike comic books back in the I think 90s that are actually really good. I would recommend them. But I think they did at the end of that run. There was a scene between Kirk and Pike when he hands over command. I don't remember though for 100% on that.
Yeah, but I think this is now uncharted territory where they're actually acquaintances and maybe even friends.
Yeah, beforehand. Yeah.
And I think it's okay because that time crystal, right?
Yeah.
It just changes everything.
Wibbly wobbly timey wimey, we learned it tomorrow. History got rewritten slightly. So.
This was supposed to happen in 1992. We finally found a 47. We always look for the 47.
Yes, there's a 47, and you found it, Chris. What was it?
The Farragut's NCC designation is 1647, and I like that because my birthday is the 16th. So,
perfect! Happy birthday!
Yeah. Well, thank you. Wrong month.
It doesn't matter. When it's going to air, somebody's going to be watching this on your birthday at some point in the future. Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
That's cool. So let's see. Do we have anything else before final thoughts? Do you have any?
I got Jessie for 3 questions.
Okay, we got that, and we'll do that. 3 trivia questions, Jessie. If she can't answer them, then I'll try to answer them. But it's not a competition. We're working together, and I think you'll get them.
All right. Okay.
We'll see.
Are you ready, Jessie?
If it's about this episode, I might get them wrong.
Not this episode. They're just random.
First question.
Okay. Cool.
Who is Sarek's wife when he boards the USS Enterprise D in the Next Generation episode, Sarek?
Oh, gosh. Oh, no. It's not Amanda, then. Why am I blanking on her name? I actually don't remember.
It's also the name of one of the main characters in Wheel of Time.
Oh, God. It's been a while. I don't remember that either.
The blacksmith?
Golden
Eyes?
I know who you're talking about. Why am I blanking on his name now, too? Oh, God. You're catching me. I feel bad. No.
All right, Albie, what is it?
Albie, who is it?
I don't got it. Can picture it, but
I knew that without looking at the back of the card.
I know. I'm so bad.
It's Perrin.
Oh, yeah, because Sarek. It's been a while since I've seen that episode.
Peter David. Not Peter David. Peter Beagle. Peter Beagle.
Okay, we got you for 3 questions.
The great Peter Beagle.
Now
we
it's
got
question number 2.
How do Harry Mudd and Captain Kirk shut down the android Norman in the original series episode I, Mudd?
Isn't that the one where they? Oh, no, that's not where they do the whole. They like get them in a logic puzzle. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they get them in a logic loop.
Yeah, it's the Kirk Fu. I like to call it Kirk Fu. All right, you got one.
That was 2 questions. You got 1 right, and we're going for another one to get 2 out of 3, which ain't bad.
Oh boy, what was the name of the Star Trek Phase 2 script that the Star Trek the Motion Picture screenplay was adapted from?
In Thy Image. That one I do know.
Wow, that I did not know, and you got it right.
I did. Congratulations, but I wouldn't have got it.
That one I 100% know.
Great job, Jessie.
All right. So
felt better at the end there. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna lose my Trekkie card on this one.
No. All right, and now we do a little thing called Trek and Tell. Jessie, did you have a like Trek and Tell for us, kind of like show and tell, but Star Trek version?
I do. I wasn't prepared, so this just tells you I have it really right on hand. But since we were talking about Star Trek United in our other video that we did on your channel, I have right here the Captain Archer. This is the Exo. What are they called? The Exo 3. Yes, the Exo 3 ones. I have another. Ooh, no! As he drops his phase pistol, but this is like a really, really nice model, and he's dusty. I actually need to dust him off a little bit. But...
Oh, that's awesome!
Yeah.
I love it.
That is so nice. Give me that and an enlarging ray. That's perfect.
He also comes with a Porthos.
That's so cool.
As well. I also have another one back there. You can kind of see him right there. That's Cisco right there. He has the baseball.
Oh wow. That's high quality. Yeah. That's nice.
No, these are. You should look them up. They're called. They're a company called Exo 3, and they do a bunch for like every single Star Trek show, including Strange New Worlds, Discovery. They have like a Pike one. They have all of them. And they're really really good quality.
Yeah, there's zippers in there.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's got it's an actual zip. Like I can unzip his uniform.
Wow.
Cool. Yeah, and
that's
a Trek. Got all the details. So yeah, it's very nice. Comes with the stand. The stand's over here. So. Yep.
Very cool. I got all the what is it? Art Asylum Enterprise.
Yeah, I have those ones. I actually have. Let's see if I can reach them here from my hand. And I got that one. Literally right here. I got the Art Asylum Archer right there.
Oh, you got a lot of good Archer swag.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta love Archer.
Like I said, I grew up on Enterprise, so as much as Enterprise has its own problems, I I have a particular love for it. So I literally have all of them over there too. I actually have a signed one. It's in the other room, but a signed Phlox in the EV, their like EV suit. I got why am I blanking on John's Billingsley to sign my Phlox. So
cool.
Which sounds dirtier than I intended.
That's why I giggled. Very cool. Mine wouldn't be a Trek and Tell until this episode happened, but this is what I have.
Ooh, wow.
You spent many a Friday night.
An Atari 2600. I got
that is really fun. My dad had one, and I remember playing it a bunch as a kid.
I had one originally, but I lost it. But I picked up a couple recently, and I just love them. They're fun.
Yeah,
and it's silly, but I got a bunch of cartridges, and I got the new Atari too. And just when it came on, the episode we were watching, I just popped big time. I was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool!" And she had the original wireless controllers from back then, from like the late 70s, with the 3-foot long antenna.
I like to think maybe someone in the actual film crew had that, and they're like, "What if we just put it in?"
It's so cool. I just want to see them playing, like Scotty and Palea playing Atari one time in the beginning of an episode or something. That'd be great.
All right, mine is usual for me. Yet another book. If you recall, at one point when we had the beautiful John Irons on, I had one of the original Bantam Star Trek novels and it was called Vulcan, because it was Vulcan with an exclamation point. Well, I found another one. This one is Spock Messiah. Spock Messiah.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's in really good shape. The guy, yeah. I mean, the guy. I have the luxury local bookstore opened up here in my town. About a year and a half ago, and it hasn't gone out of business. It's the first bookstore we've had in about 6-7 years. There was another one on Main Street when we first moved in. It's gone, long gone. So I'm so happy that I have this guy, and every time I go in, the stock is just a little bit different. So it's the second one of these that I've found, and I don't even mind that he charges me like $18 for this thing. So because I get to support the bookstore,
Yeah.
So Spock was, now Vulcan was a terrible novel. I can't wait to see how bad this one might be. I don't know. I mean, it was just like all levels of bad.
But it's got an exclamation point.
My favorite one, it's in that same line of novels. There's one called Spock Must Die.
Yes, that one I've seen that one. Yeah,
that one's a lot of fun.
I haven't seen it in the wild. I just know of it. Is what I mean. Yeah,
I have a copy of it. It's a fun. They're all fun, weird little camp ones. So
I think what I love about them is they all seem to center around Spock. I guess because Spock was like you said, like the most popular character back then. So they were going to capitalize on Nimoy's fame.
If Spock's in the title, people are going to buy it, right?
Yeah. So anyway, that's my latest, greatest, and the cover art's pretty cool too.
Chris, I have to ask. It's been 3 more months. Have you yet read Imzadi?
I have not, but I did take the plastic covering off of it.
Okay. At some point, you'll have to read it, and we'll have to do a show about it.
I know. I thought,
it's really good.
Listen, we're doing a lot of like weekly stuff because Strange New Worlds. Once Strange New Worlds is over, we have until 2026 for Starfleet Academy, and to start
Something
hating
like
on that.
Early 2026, so probably February.
So we can start doing the book club then.
Okay. What you should do is, if you do have a book club, have me back on. But what you should do is you should read Q Squared.
I read that on my honeymoon.
Yeah.
Read that on my honeymoon 31 years ago, and I still remember it well.
Yeah, because it's a Peter David novel, and it's relevant because of the Q Trelane stuff recently.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, that was a good audiobook too. Who read that? John Delancey?
That was John Delancey as well, yeah.
That's awesome. Whom you've directed.
I have directed.
That's pretty cool.
I actually speaking of which, we had to do some stuff with him in the voiceover booth, where he got to be menacing in the voiceover booth, and I just remember I was directing him, and I had my headphones on, and I was directing him, and then he had go more menacing, and then he does this snarl as the evil guy in the audio thing, and I'm like, oh, chills. Just brought me back to being a kid and hearing Q. That was great.
That's amazing. I would have been too much of a fanboy. I would have been like, say sabotage. Something. I'd be messing with him, but it's good that it wasn't me. It was good it was you. But yeah, he's a great dude. I loved him in Alien Voices. The work he did.
Oh, Alien. So sorry, I keep telling stories about this. So
we love stories. That's why we're here.
I will say, Alien Voices was, again, I told you, like, audiobooks are my thing growing up.
Yeah.
So I got into Alien Voices, and that was how I got into learning about, like, all the classics of science fiction, like, you know, starting with H.G. Wells from those ones. And like their version of the time machine still terrifies me when Leonard Nimoy goes underneath. I like listening to that. It's horrifying.
It's great.
So I loved those, and I wanted to be, when I met John, you know, we directed everything, we did the movie. At the end of the day, because it wasn't the last day, it was his last day for on the set. I wanted to, like, I didn't want to be the fan person, like, fan out at him, like, before that point, because I had to have a professional relationship. But it was like the last day, and I was just like, look, and I wanted to, like, kind of be like, he knew I was a Trekkie because he'd seen all the Star Trek tattoos, and so I wanted to be a little bit subversive, and I was like, I just wanted to let you know, I know you know I'm a Trekkie, but the Alien Voices stuff that you did with Nimoy were very influential for me growing up, and they meant a lot to me. And he actually seemed to really be touched by that, let someone remember those. And then I pulled out, and I have them again. I have them in the other room. I still have my cassette tapes of that, and I got a signed copy of The Time Machine from him. Wow. And he seemed to be shocked that I still had the cassette tapes of it. So yeah, that was my me trying to be like, I know you better than the normal fans. I knew your Alien Voices thing, but he was very sweet about it.
I had a friend who has a science fiction show here on Long Island, and he would play the Alien Voices stuff occasionally. And why I loved them is because they were classic. Just for anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, these were classic science fiction stories that John Delancey and I think Leonard Nimoy produced live on stage in front of an audience, but they produced them as radio plays. So it was like a radio drama done live to a live audience, and they were just fantastic. So if you can find them, you can probably dig them up on like archive.com or whatever. You can probably get them.
Yeah,
they're around. Yeah,
I know. I think
they're still on Audible.
And they are. Cool.
Yeah, they're on Audible. That's why I downloaded them.
Didn't they do a few video specials where they recorded some live on like the Sci-Fi Channel back then?
I think so. Yeah, they did.
Yeah. I think Armin Shimmerman, didn't he do some too with them?
One thing I'm upset about, they did on the Star Trek. So on I went on the Star Trek cruise this year for the first time. They did the War of the Worlds with the cast there, which was a lot of fun. Oh, wow. He did like his version of War of the Worlds. Captain Kate Mulgrew was the lead scientist in that one. She did a really great job. Wow. But I missed it. 3 years. It was like the first year Strange New Worlds came out. He did a version of Spock versus Q with Ethan Peck as Spock. And I'm like, that would have been so fun to see.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I hope there's a bootleg out there. I need somebody send it my way.
When I heard about it, I'm like, please tell me someone did. I have been looking. So if anyone did, you have it on your phone somewhere, whatever, please send it to me too. I want it.
Have Jesse send it to me.
I will send it to you. Like,
I'll send it to Chris. And we don't know nothing. None of us were there.
We didn't hear it. We didn't hear it.
Yeah. I have a bootleg copy of everything I've ever seen.
That's amazing.
So yeah. If I was there.
I mean, I did. I'm not going to post it. I'm not going to post it here, but I did record a little bit of the War of the Worlds on my phone, so I have Kate Mulgrew doing that. So
send it over here.
I will.
I'll take it all.
Yeah, if you come on the cruise, you should. Cruise is great. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I went to get it, and it like was immediately selling out, and the only ones left were like the ones on the top deck with like a whole apartment, and yeah, I couldn't do that.
Yeah. So,
I
luckily a friend had to leave it. They were like, "Oh, I can't go. Would you like to take my thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll pay for it," because it was like one of the ones that was cheaper. So I was like, "Sure."
Very cool. Yeah, I want to be down in steerage where they just lock me when the ship starts sinking. I'll be happy there, you know.
Yeah. It's a great. I didn't spend any time in the room anyway. Good. So it's like, yeah. So
if anyone out there has extra tickets they're not using, again, send them this way. So that'll be cool. Yeah, Serenity's 13 now, so she can go. I think that's the youngest age, so that's what we're waiting for. Okay, so this is where we give our final thoughts and ratings, and anything you didn't get a chance to talk about that is still kind of on your mind in your notes, that's a great place to do it also. Why don't we start with Jessie, since she's our guest today.
So what's the rating out of silly objects?
So it's out of 5 wacky objects from the episode.
Got it.
But
okay.
You can go as high as 10 if you're ridiculous like me.
I will give this 3 out of 5 copper wires running to telephone to triangulate the signal.
Awesome. What are your final thoughts on this episode?
Like I said, my final thoughts on this is like I like it. I don't hate the episode. I think it's probably my favorite of the season. But again, that kind of speaks to the whole season in that I'm not like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So I liked it. I think it was good. It was probably a decent, like I said before, it's a decent sell on a show that I really kind of don't want. But I do wish this episode, the ideas that it certainly had it was playing with, I wish it had brought them more to the fore and actually explored them alongside the semi-interesting character work that they did with Kirk and the TOS crew. So,
okay, very cool. Let's see. I'll say I'm going to give it, out of 5, I'm going to give it 9 of those new isolinear disc looking floppy disk plywood squares that they use for data storage. I popped when I saw that. I thought that was pretty cool, like a modern version of the little piece of painted wood they had before. This episode really worked for me, and I think everything the writers and showrunners were trying to do for the fans in this episode, and I really believe they were trying to give us all the good feels. Everything worked for me. I'm an easy mark when it comes to Star Trek. Fan service, I'll eat it up. I'll take it. And if it tells me a good story and teaches me something and makes me feel, and this episode gave me feels. The Kirk looking at the chair, the crew coming together, the interactions, and just again with the announcement of year 1 coming out, which I don't like the title because I think that limits it. It limits it, and it's going to be a really long year maybe, but I guess, I don't know. But if they do it, I'll take it. But it just, everything worked for me, and I was squeeing, and I've seen it, I think, now 4 or 5 times, and I love it each time more. So I popped. I'm a fan. I don't know. How many episodes have you watched up to, Jesse?
I watched up to episode 7, so I haven't seen anything past 7.
Okay. I have an addiction. So as soon as I got him, I
watch him now. Yeah, I have to parse them out because I'd feel like, oh no, I'm wasting them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're smart. But I couldn't wait, and I got up at the end of season 3, and I said to myself, I'm in love, and her name is Strange New Worlds. So I'm a fan, and this is one of the strongest episodes for me. It gave me those TOS feels. So yeah. Chris,
I'm going to give this one an E for effort. I know what they were going for. Now, it's funny, Jesse. I thank you for giving me this. It's amazing because you really nailed why I'm not gelling with this the way I want to. I thought that the Sehlat that ate its own tail, it was sort of a sly reference to late stage capitalism and rampant consumption for consumption's sake. But you had brought up that they're really relying on the fact that there's a meta narrative about Star Trek among Star Trek fans that we all recognize, and they're using that in place of just writing compelling Star Trek stories. And so, I mean, in a sense, modern Trek is becoming the Sehlat that ate its own tail. It's amazing that you kind of put that together and it just fits with the title of the episode, but it's unfortunate too. Again, there's so much potential. I just hope they realize it. So like you, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. I'll give it 3 out of 5.
My fiance's going in. My dear. She's like, what are you doing?
I'll give it 3 out of 5 bloody Vulcan foreheads.
3 out of 5 bloody Vulcan foreheads. Hey, I got one of those.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've been staring at your bloody Vulcan forehead the entire time.
I love that, by the way. I haven't commented on your makeup is great, by the way.
Thank you. I didn't get a chance to get the dish towel lining thing they were going for, but the drawer lining. Speaking of spouses, fiancés, was that Dr. Laura on the bridge of the Farragut, Chris?
Dr. Laura was not on the bridge of the Farragut.
No, she
Why
looked
did
like
you think that? I'm confused as to the reference.
I think she was at the science station. No, she wasn't Vulcan, but she looked like Laura. She was wearing blue.
Oh, okay.
Also, speaking of the Farragut, I forgot about this. Where is this in the timeline compared to when everyone's supposed to die on the Farragut? I think you joked that it was afterwards, but I'm like, I got to look at a timeline.
No, I think that where it wasn't everybody died on the Farragut that I recall. It was Captain Garavik died on the planet during Obsession. Kirk meets that cloud again that killed Garavik, but I believe Kirk was an ensign during that away mission. It might have been like one of his first away missions or one of his first landing parties. And Garavik died because Kirk thought that he hesitated when the cloud came and attacked him. Anyway, that's how I'm remembering that episode. I could be recalling, erroneously.
Let's see. Even Kirk, I'm looking at this. Like, is the lone survivor dying in sickbay after being returned to the ship that U.S. neglected? I gotta look back at it because I vaguely recall something about like everyone on the Farragut dying, but I might be misremembering. That might be me misremembering.
I think it might have just been everybody in the landing port.
You're probably correct because I feel like that would be a weird thing for Strange New Worlds to get wrong. So I think you're probably correct. I think I'm.
But maybe that's why we had a new Vulcan captain because I think Kirk was much younger when Garavik did it. Yeah. Anyway, we want to know what you all think out there in Treksploration land. I love that we named the show that I can, sometimes not be able to say. Treksploration wants to know what you think about this episode, what you think about Captain Garavik biting it on the Obsession planet, what you think about Albie's spectacular bloody Vulcan makeup. You can do so right here, youtube.com/@Treksploration. Go down. Leave a comment, leave a share, subscribe.
Subscribe.
You can also check us out on patreon.com/Treksploration. You can support the show that way in many ways. You can become part of the crew of Treksplorers that we already have. You can just send us an email. That's treksplorationpod@gmail.com. Send me a letter. P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. I promise I'll share it on future episodes of Treksploration, or now special episodes of Treksploration feedback. So, speaking of special episodes, Albie, what's our next episode for
season 3, episode 7 of Strange New Worlds? It's called "What is Starfleet?"
Who is Starfleet?
When is Starfleet?
Why?
Where is Starfleet?
How is Starfleet?
Is there a description or like a line out about what it's about?
I have an idea of what it might be about. I haven't seen it.
Right.
I have a feeling we might be seeing Emmanuel or what's Ortegas' brother's name?
Umberto? I think it was Umberto.
Umberto.
Right?
Umberto.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we might be seeing Umberto's documentary for the Federation Centennial. That's just my idea. Ooh. I could be wrong. But it seems to me like it'd be like a film strip that you saw in 3rd grade. What is Starfleet?
Wouldn't that be great? I was thinking something like the first episode of Red Dwarf, where he was taken in like an entrance exam or something like that. What is Starfleet? And somebody had to write a paper. Or like the Breakfast Club. If they, how they're doing different genres. What if they did like the Breakfast Club movie, but retold it in a Star Trek episode, and then at the end, Anthony Michael Hall, as some captain, has to read out what Starfleet is. That'd be great.
Captain Pike just jumps into the air and it freeze frames.
Right. I'm here for it. Hopefully Akiva is listening, watching this, and goes, "Hey, we could do Breakfast Club for season 5. That'd be great. I would love it." But that's me. Jessie, thank you so much for joining us on Treksploration. For the few people that aren't subscribed to you over there, could you tell people where you are and how they can find you? Because I'm sure they love you now.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Well, if you don't hate me, you can find me at Jessie Gender on YouTube, where I do video essay style stuff. I actually will have 2. I do like video essays, a bunch of things, but actually in the nearish future, I'll have 2 Star Trek related essays coming out. The one I'm actually literally writing right before this was, why do tech billionaires like Elon Musk love Star Trek so much? So I'm going to be doing a whole video breaking down their ideology and all of that stuff.
Okay, cool.
And why they don't understand Star Trek, but they think they do. And then I'm going to, I have a secondary channel called Jessie Gender After Dark, where I do reviews of different shows, such as Star Trek Strange New Worlds, as well as I'm going to be reviewing Alien Earth and Peacemaker Season 2, so be on the lookout for that.
Ooh, I'm excited for both of those.
Yeah, I'm very pumped for both of those, especially Alien Earth. I've heard nothing but good
soon,
things
right?
People, so. It's tonight, and it's aired. It probably actually aired while we were talking.
No sleep for Albie. Yay!
yeah. And then the only other thing I'll mention really briefly, besides Nebula, if you want to go see my movies and the show that I directed an episode of, which will be coming out next year, I have my own podcast called Frack This Podcast, where I am going through and rewatching the 2008, the reimagined Battlestar Galactica show. I don't remember what 2004, whatever the year was. Episode by episode by friend Vera, who has never seen the show. So it's first time for her and one of numerous rewatches for me.
Awesome.
So it's a fun time.
That is so cool. I did not know about that. I'm gonna.
I just did a complete rewatch of Battlestar reboot, so I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yeah, we've been doing that for a while. Where we started off because we do the dynamic where one of us has seen the show, one of us hasn't. So we did Farscape where she had seen it and I hadn't.
Love it.
Then we did Babylon 5, which I had seen, she hadn't, and now we're doing Battlestar Galactica, which I have seen and she hasn't. And then also, sorry, I should say we did, because of the writer's strike, you weren't allowed to like review shows that were technically on the air, so we stopped. We did The Prisoner. We did the old show, The Prisoner, which The Prisoner's one of the best shows on TV.
I have them on VHS.
Oh, they're so good. Such a fantastic show.
So good. Where do you find the time? That's amazing.
I don't sleep.
I'm saying.
Yeah. So
that's great.
We'll link to that's where you can find me.
We'll link to Nebula down below and check those things out. That's amazing. I'm going to subscribe to that podcast. What's it called? Frack This Podcast. It's if you look up Frack This Podcast, you'll find it. Technically, it's under, because we've had numerous podcasts. Vera, who's the co-host, she has a podcast feed called the Council of Geeks podcast channel. So if you subscribe to that, you'll get that. But if you look up Frack This Podcast, you'll find it. Awesome. You know what I loved? While I was watching Battlestar, I would listen to Ronald D. Moore's commentaries every week. It was difficult to get, but I loved it. Smoking a cigar, drinking whiskey or whatever.
Drinking whiskey, here's glass clinking.
Yep.
Legitimately, I credit those for getting me, because I went to film school and I fell in love with Star Trek and everything. But those podcasts, along with the Lost creators, did a similar thing with like actually getting me to love like the process of like writing and what it means to write and make film and make episodes. So I love those commentaries.
Yeah, nothing like just having that weekly live commentary as you just watch the episode. So I'm definitely going to check out yours. Thank you. And thanks again for being on the show. And if you like this episode, go back in our episodes. We've had the beautiful John Irons. We've had Allison Pregler. We've had Sean Farrick from Trek Culture. And we've had Steve Shives on. I mean, this has been a great season for us.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate all of you helping us out, helping the little guys out. It means a lot to us.
Oh, I love all of those people. Except for Sean. Tell Sean I hate him. He's the worst. I love Sean.
He said
Sean and I have
you and you're lovely.
Aw, well, I hate him. He's the worst. No, Sean and I literally, like, the first time I saw him, we were at the Star Trek Picard season 3 premiere. We both got invited. And like I ran up and hugged him, and he had just shot. They had shot a Trek Culture video out at Vasquez Rocks that day. So he'd been standing out in the burning hot sun because he's from the UK, so he's like not used to the sun being out. So he was so sunburnt, just fully red. So I run up and hug him for the first time. And he's like, "Oh, it's painful, but it hurts so good." So yeah, Sean's the best.
That was great. I loved watching that video. I was like, "Oh, they're together. The streams are crossing."
Yeah, he's wonderful.
So thank you so much. So make sure you subscribe, so our friends can come back and be on the show again. That'd be great. All right. So I think that about wraps it up. I loved it. I'm in love. It's Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Thank you, Jesse. And for Treksploration, I'm Albie.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Jesse.
And we'll see you next time.
Rockin' hard, just press that play with every episode. We escape the story Captain Charlie's. It's so see the omnipotent flippin' Victor Yahtzee. Bright lights and laughter with breaking the mold with Chris and Albie. Let the stories unfold. Trek and tell with the crew so tight. Around the mic, put shot so bright. That the deep in space, or don't you know? Captain Charles on the bridge, it's sight to see. Do you never did? Got it us so deep. Watch it all night, we're ready for the ride. Check it to the calm, side by side. Feel the rhythm as we move to the beat. And the word podcast with DFB. Get Charles, get ready to the cosmic tide. Get unlimited love. Tight to ride.